this offense. What do you expect to see out of it this year? Are you expecting a little bit faster start from you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of returners, continuity with the staff understanding what we're about, what we're trying to accomplish. So, I think we've got some core leadership too that we've already identified that I don't know if I could have said a year ago, just being fresh into it. So just all those things, so yeah, I would expect us to get off to a faster start, and I know our players certainly expect that too.
How much more comfortable are you in this setting now after, you're here in your second year and a half here in Tigertown? How much more comfortable are you with the experience?
Yeah, more comfortable for sure. And I think mainly from a standpoint of just getting integrated with the people here, with the coaches, with the staff, kind of our process, how we practice, going against that defense every single day in practice. Just all those things kind of mixed together kind of adds up to that.
Hey, Coach, how are you? And how was summer? What was new? What stayed the same?
Summer was great. It always goes fast. Kind of probably like every coach's response. You love it, you enjoy it, you look forward to it for a long time, and about that last week of vacation, you're kind of ready to get back and get ready to go. But we had camps, an unbelievable camp season for us, and a lot of the athletes that we had here, as well as our youth camp, was always a blast. But the camp season, the work that our guys have put in on their own kind of all summer, and the plan that we put out for them, and them executing that plan, I feel really good about that. I think we've made a lot of strides this summer. And again, that kind of goes back to some of the leadership that I feel like we have on our side of the ball this year. So, feel good about it. I think it was a good 2 months for us for sure.
Last year was a little bit of a roller coaster, but you guys were right there when it all ended. Does that bring a piece of comfort to know that it was the little things and maybe it was a flukish a little bit, but like you guys were right there and now you can pounding, hopefully eradicate a lot of those missed cues at the place?
Yeah, I think you got to learn from all those things, right? I mean, there was a lot of, the close games that we came up a little bit short on, some of the mishaps. I mean, they're all things that us as coaches and our players certainly got to learn from, and that's where you kind of saw us grow as the season went on, and that's just going to carry some momentum, as we all know, into this season for us.
What was it like just going back and watching that season, just kind of going back and processing it?
Well, it was a roller coaster going back watching it too. There's a lot of really good things, a lot of promising things, a lot of flashes here and there, and also obviously some things that we just got to get corrected. We just got to be better. So, it's always good as a coach once the season ends to decompress for a minute, go back, really evaluate what went on, and you got to kind of look at it with a fine-tooth comb, but you also got to look at it kind of macro as well. So it's always a great time for us, and I think we found a lot of things that we tried to address this spring.
Specifically, when you look at the turnovers, maybe the fumbles, is there anything that y'all do differently? Is there anything that you identify as a reason why that is such an issue at times?
Yeah, you always want to look, is it some sort of technique thing? Is it personnel? You're always emphasizing and trying to work on this stuff in practice at nauseum. So, I think just a lot of unfortunate things, honestly. But it's something that we're certainly going to emphasize moving forward, just as we did last year. But obviously, you gotta take care of the ball. There's no question about it.
You brought up core leadership. Who have you seen really step up, and in what ways?
Well, I think Phil Moffa obviously is a guy that's kind of the quiet leader. He's going to do it by his actions and his play, and just always doing the right thing. So he's certainly a guy that our guys look to. Jake Brenningstool comes to mind as someone that's really improved and kind of emerged in that role. I'm really proud of him and his maturity and what he's done, and kind of taking that thing by the horns a little bit through the spring and this summer. I know Kade's certainly improved that as well now that he's played and kind of has some credibility that he's been the guy for a year. Up front, Tristan Lee, Blake Miller, certainly guys that bring a lot to the table from a leadership standpoint.
Did you have a conversation with Kade about how important that is that maybe he kind of take the reins with that lead his team?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we always talk about. I mean, that whole quarterback room, I mean, that's something you're always trying to evolve and get better with. And it's one of those things that there's a little bit of a fine line. You can't be a fraud. You can't try and overdo it. You can't do too little. Like in my mind, there's kind of a balance and a happy medium to it. And he's certainly finding his own way right now with it.
What are you expecting out of Cade on the field this?
I just expect sharp, I mean, just a guy that's not going to panic, a guy that's going to understand what we're trying to do, minimizing some of the bad plays. I mean, those are certain things that off the top of my head that we should be able to see this fall.
What kind of progress did you see in him as the season went along? It seemed like as you would like, as the season got along, he got better. You saw places where he made mistakes. Did you see that when you went back to the film?
Yeah.
Steady progress?
Yeah, I mean, just with all the things that kind of went on in our season, it's a good problem to have with a guy like Cade. Is at times he's one of those that really believes in himself, which is awesome. But at times you can try to do a little bit too much. And when certain guys were missing and maybe a little thin in certain spots, maybe the added pressure of he felt like he had to do a little bit too much probably crept in at times. But as the season went on, I think he learned that. I think he understood that a little bit better. And really, I think the game just kind of slowed down for him each and every week. And that's really what I saw as you look through it, chronologically.
Yes, you mentioned a couple of times where he maybe tried to do too much. I know the Florida State game is probably one that stands out for a lot of people's minds. But you guys have an added issue of helmet tech this year. Do you think that communication right up until potentially the ball is snapped can be a benefit in terms of his decision making and in situations like that?
Yeah, I think it's certainly going to be a helpful tool. There's no question about it. I think the whole key, with Cade, with all of our quarterbacks, and probably across the board in college football, is just what's going to be too much for some of those guys, right? I mean, they're not professionals. They're not an NFL quarterback that's sitting in a meeting room every hour of the day. And so I just think that's where, as coaches, we got to do a good job of not really putting too much on his plate. But I think it's certainly going to be a helpful tool.
Did you talk to him about how to use that best for him, or do you talk to other NFL coaches, quarterbacks who kind of used the tech for a long time? How did you prepare for that?
Yeah, I tried to ask several NFL guys that have just more experience with it, with that sort of technology, and so was able to kind of bounce some ideas off of their trial and errors, and hopefully we'll speed up ours as we go through it.
Is there a balance with that? Because obviously you got to win every play, right? So if you give him information that helps, but how does it impede his development in seeing the game and trying to react to what's out there?
I mean, just with our style of offense and what we do and what we believe in, we feel like whatever we're putting out there on the script or in a game plan, we feel like he's going to be able to execute no matter what happens. And so that's kind of the core philosophy. Now, if we can give him a little added tip and help him out, great. But, again, don't want to give him too much either.
Regarding the area on the field, what's something that you'd like to, obviously moving the ball is not a problem between the 20s, but what's a stat maybe halfway through the year where you'll be really impressed to know that if you guys are attacking the long ball well or crossing patterns well, what's something that you go, if we're doing this well, we're probably very successful?
I mean, look at the first half of our season, obviously the red zone scoring is the big one. And you look at the second half of our season, and we were really good in terms of red zone scoring. So obviously that's always going to be a big one, and certainly explosive plays. I mean, those two things are kind of the biggest deals aside from turnovers. So those would be probably the two.
I think Kade during the spring was also mentioning just all the receiver injuries. It was hard to get a rapport with the guys in practice and stuff like that. How much do you feel like that did affect him in terms of knowing where guys were going to be?
Well, it's tough. I mean, that just comes back to chemistry. You did all this stuff in spring and summer a year ago for him and all those quarterbacks, and you get into fall, and all of a sudden it's a lot of different guys that are practicing. And I know with Tyler Brown specifically, like a guy that played really well and emerged for us obviously last season. In the second half of the season, I mean, the dude barely practiced. And so all of a sudden, maybe the first time that Cade's actually throwing it to Tyler, is on Saturday, and so that's tough. I mean, that's part of football, though. But that does come back to chemistry, and you hope that that's improved as we move forward, for sure.
What's it been like working with Coach Luke in terms of matching his skills as an offensive line coach with what your scheme is and how that all works together?
Yeah, he's been great. He's very adaptive. I mean, he's been around. He's been in different systems. He's worked for other people, so he's an adaptive person. Certainly has brought some stuff to the table for us in terms of a little bit of scheme here and there, for sure. But I think just ways to attack different things that we see, different defenses. And, that freshness is always good as a coach. Like, I love that. And obviously his passion and his fire and all those things kind of speak for itself. So he's been a great guy to work with so far.
You talk about Phil being a quiet leader. How ready is he for him being the guy out there coming up this season?
I think he's chomping at the bit. I really do. He's a guy that whatever you put on his plate, he's going to be able to handle it. Like, he's a confident, mature person that believes in himself. So I think whatever you throw at Phil, he's going to be ready.
Do you expect him to be not necessarily the same role as Will, because I'm not sure how many guys can do that, but a little more active as a receiver out of the backfield and that kind of stuff this year?
Yeah, I mean, Phil's a guy that can catch the ball, and I know he's a big guy, but he's really good at making a first guy miss, and so just another way to get him in some space and where you don't have 6-7 guys trying to tackle him right in the box is always probably a good thing for us. So, yeah, I look forward to him, certainly doing some things out of the backfield and getting in some space, no doubt.
Tell me about the two freshmen and Wesco and Moore. Do you think that's going to change some of the things we're bringing?
I mean, they're certainly going to help. And listen, that room's got some depth right now for us going into spring and summer and approaching fall camp. I mean, that's a room from a depth perspective that's kind of looks totally different than a year ago. I mean, it really does. And in terms of who you have in there and experience and the amount of returners, that's going to be a really competitive room this fall camp. And certainly Wesco and TJ we're excited about. Saw some great flashes from Wesco in the spring, and some of the things we've heard this summer on him have been great. And as well as TJ's just starting to get going, but his skill set's certainly going to be a competitive addition to that room for sure.
Where are you at with the backup situation at quarterback with Christian, and who's your number two? Are they co-number twos? How y'all going into that?
Yeah, they're still going to have to battle here in fall camp. Those two guys flashed in spring. Trent had a few less practices due to a little injury there at the beginning of spring. So those guys are going to have to battle through it in fall camp, no question.
What did you see out of Pierman in the spring that allowed him to move up that ladder?
Well, he's just a guy that can function and execute at a pretty high level, and that's due to his intelligence and his decisiveness, and he's just got a little bit of the gamer to him, and kind of has some of that moxie. But certainly excited about him as well as CV.
What kind of growth have you seen from Kade, from Jacksonville, ball practice, their spring practice to now?
I would say the biggest thing is I just feel like you can put a little bit more on his plate, and he really understands. He's not just saying, yes, sir, I understand. He actually gets it. And, I just think it's continuing to slow down for him. And you see him, even in his movements, he's such a twitchy, kind of hyperactive guy. I mean, even in some of just those mannerisms and demeanor on the field within the play, you just start to see him calm down.
Is that where, going through some failure, having to take some criticism and all that, you think that's kind of hardened him in a way, or matured him maybe?
I mean, going through some tough things is always the best teacher of how to get better, for us as coaches and certainly as players. So he's someone that's mindful of when he's got to be better, and he's certainly not going to shy away from it. So, yeah, I'm proud of him that way for sure.
How about behind off what's your feel for sort of who you think you can trust?
Yeah, Keith Adams flashed quite a bit for us this spring, and you know, he's the hammerhead, and he's a tough guy to tackle. You got to make a business decision if you're coming downhill to tackle him. So he's got a skill set that's certainly going to help us. You know, Jarvis Green was also someone that flashed, I thought, quite a bit in our second half of spring. So I was proud of the way he finished and really kind of emerged there late. Then Jay Haynes. I mean, Jay Haynes is the wild card. He's a guy that has a lot of burst and a lot of change of pace to him. So, you know, just looking to see him this fall as well.
Garrett, you talk about Kade growing from some of the struggles early on in the season. Was the first couple months, was that also instructive to you? You know, you're still a young guy in this business, in just knowing, okay, you know, these are the buttons I can now push, and you've got this in your toolbox going forward into this season.
Yeah, I mean, every season's different. You know, this is year, 13, I think, for me already, and every season has been totally different. So, yeah, you're always going to have some different things that happen, and yeah, hopefully some of that experience from last year will pay off for all of us.
How comfortable are you with the center position right now?
Say it again, sorry.
How comfortable are you with the center position right now, Brian, I guess Harris?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are battling and graded out well for us in the spring. Was dependable, so I like that competition quite a bit as we go into fall camp. I think that's certainly going to be one to watch, but I'm excited to watch those guys and really see how they came out of summer. You know, I'm really anticipating seeing those guys. Yep.
Any specific wideouts in the offense this year that you've seen take a big step and grow a lot in the offseason?
I mean, just through what we've heard, I think Antonio, I mean, I've seen him just around the building. I mean, just physically looks different to me. I think he's done a really, really good job this summer just trying to transform his body more so than maybe he has. And obviously, I thought he had a tremendous spring. I really did. And so obviously excited about him. But Cole Turner, kind of another one you almost forget about, but the guy he's probably the fastest guy on our team, one of them. And, you know, certainly excited to get him back and know he's healthy and physically looks good and all those things. So, you know, just off the top of my head, just kind of transforming their body, like those are two that stick out.
Between Wesco and TJ Moore, how quickly can those guys push for playing time? Obviously, both very highly rated recruits got in here pretty early. Could you see them get playing time in year one?
Oh, yeah, no question. I mean, like I said, that's going to be a very competitive room, and, you know, look for those guys to have certain roles and see what they can handle and actually playing in real games and seeing how they handle that. But, yeah, I certainly know and think that they can help us this fall for sure.
Coach, with the new college football game coming out, did you play when it used to be out, and what do you think about it coming back?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's back. I certainly played when I was younger. Something was wrong with you if you didn't play college football, EA Sports back then, I think. But yeah, I think all of our guys are obviously excited. Yep.
And what do you think about the opportunity now? You know, back when it was the old game, no names, just the numbers. You had to figure out who Tim Tebow was and stuff like that. What do you think about the opportunity that the guys have now to actually get paid with the NIL and being in the game?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I really do. I think to be able to, number one, just see your name on the jersey and all those things is really cool as a player and as a fan, and just being able to kind of capitalize on it financially, I think is a great thing for them.
Does Kade need to be an ACC player of the year, a caliber player for Clemson to reach to make it back to the college football, but also does he have to just be himself?
I mean, I don't know about all that. I just think he needs to be the best he can be, and all that stuff will kind of take care of itself. If Cade's the best that he can be, then we're going to be in great shape.
I'm sure you've already been asked this, but we've gone back and forth. How have you seen Kade grow in year two in your offense?
Yeah, just everything's slowing down and what he can handle mentally, and just kind of the calmness, the demeanor that he has. That's probably the thing that sticks out.
The last time you coached against Georgia didn't go great. The last time Clemson played against Georgia didn't go great. How much do you guys use that as a motivational tool through camp, or is it you not try to worry about who's number one on the calendar?
I mean, they're first on our schedule. I mean, they've been on an incredible run, great team, and we know we got a huge challenge in front of us, but looking forward to it. But yeah, in terms of past stuff for me or for Clemson, I'm not looking at that too much. But I know our guys will be motivated. I know Coach Sweeney will get them fired up for sure.
You ain't last season started. First game. Didn't go well. Has anything changed in the preparations going into game one this year? From last year's struggles in game one to try to
Yeah, I mean, there will probably be some tweaks here and there, but in terms of something major or drastically different, probably not. Just trying to take a great approach and have our best players ready and available and fresh and fast and from a game plan standpoint, just something that we're really confident in, and from there we got to go do it. We got to go execute it.
I guess in terms of the offensive line, when you go back and watch last year, the offensive line, I guess, were there any particular areas you felt like if we can improve here, we can take a big step? What would that be?
Yeah, I think same thing. Really as the quarterback position is the things that we can truly control. We've got to minimize some of the bad plays collectively up front, and whether that's pass protection in the run game, whatever it may be. So I think if we can do that, if we can minimize those up front, just some of the mental things that happened, or just a bust here and there, whatever it may be. If we do that, I think we'll really improve because we got a core group of guys that have played now. I know we're going to be, stronger and more physical and those things as we're more mature, we're older. So those things are going to come for us, and that's what we expect. But I think if we can handle those things, especially early on in the season, I think we'll be able to take a pretty big step forward.
Getting a workhorse style running back in Phil Naffa, I'm sure that's someone other defenses are going to try to circle, stack boxes. How does that help open up the offense, specifically for a tight end like Jake Brinkstool and the rest of the tight end?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, you're going to create some one-on-one matchups, and if you feel like you've got an advantage, then you feel like you got the upper hand a little bit with some of those things. But yeah, I mean, that tight end group is going to be exciting to watch, and Jake's a guy that obviously we expect big things from. Thought he had a really good season last year, and it's got a lot of momentum coming into this season. He's confident. But really the rest of the guys too. Josh Sapp was someone that kind of emerged and made some big plays for us, especially in the second half of the season. So look for him to certainly help us, as well as Olsen. And, we got Marcus Dixon. We've got Banks Pope kind of helped us a lot in the back half of the season. So that's a group that's going to be important for us, with our versatility and with what we do in the run game and the passing game.
How much more settled do you just yourself feel, having been here for a year and a half now? Like, how do you feel like more like Clemson's home? Kind of what does that like?
Yeah, I mean, like I was telling someone earlier, just the amount of time you've been here to kind of really integrate yourself with the staff, and the amount of staff we have, as we know, we've got a big one. And so I think just really connecting with a lot of those people and just understand what our process is and how we practice, how we recruit, just all those things. I mean, certainly more comfortable with as I've been here now over a year.
Do you have any favorite places in Clemson?
Favorite places? Well, I mean, definitely the lake. I mean, you got to go to the lake. You know what? I've been I'm a Roller Mills guy. I mean, food-wise, I'm kind of a Roller Mills guy. So yeah, I mean, we've loved bouncing around, love getting downtown. Kids love it. So yeah, we've had a great time here.
Tyler Brown's invited to emerge out of the wide receiver room last year. How have you seen him grow heading into the season?
Yeah, so Tyler's a guy. What's incredible about him is obviously he's skilled, but mentally he can just handle things, and that's what I've been impressed with him since day one. And I certainly think now he's going to take that to another step now that he's played, and same thing for him now that he's been in this offense for a year. So really look for him to certainly improve from year one to year two. Even though he had a good year one, he's got to take another big step here in year two.
You were talking about Antonio Williams earlier. Is he more of an outside guy now with having Tyler? And I think Troy even took some work in the slot. Like, where do you see him?
Yeah, we've got some versatility. We feel like and got We've got several guys that we feel like can play inside or outside, and ultimately you're just trying to get your best four out there, and that's including a tight end. So whoever our best four are, those guys are going to play quite a bit. And then the way we play, and you just look at last season, the amount of plays we have in one game is quite a bit. And so you're going to need 6 to 8 guys that play a lot, that rotate at those receiver and tight end positions in order for you to stay fresh during the game and for the longevity of the season. So, we're going to need a lot of those guys to play quite a bit. But, yeah, Antonio, Troy, several of those guys are going to be able to kind of do both for us.
Your intro presser, you talked about wanting to become a head coach someday. I guess how was working with Dabo the last year and a half? What have you learned along that specific track?
Just a lot of organizational things, and obviously the program and just the way he carries himself and how consistent he is every single day. Those are things that certainly stick out, but it's definitely been a joy to just be a sponge, and be around him as well as a lot of the other staff that have been in it a long time. It's been great.
In terms of your career trajectory, do you feel settled here? Like you're here and the next thing might be the head coaching gig, or how do you think about your future personally? I know when you came here, that was part of your...
Yeah, you have long-term goals and try to set out some things for yourself and your professional career and in life, but I'm definitely one of those that, man, wherever I'm at, I'm there. Man, if something happens, we'll see, but I'm certainly happy with where I'm at. All right, guys. Appreciate it.